Title is not the same as title documents, and if you don't understand this, you would lose your land even with documents. If you've watched my videos on due diligence, you'll understand that it's not just about ownership, it's about security of your investment. Hello and good day. I am Samuel Ezine, your real estate consultant. I help new and existing investors in Nigeria and in diaspora own verified properties in Lagos and Enugu. We'll be talking about land titles and title documents in Nigeria. It's going to come in three parts. This is part one. We're focusing on the foundation, what you need to understand before looking at any documents. In this video, you'll understand what land title really means, the kinds of land titles, the difference between title and title documents, and what documents are not title documents, the root of title, and lastly, the most important thing in land transaction, which is authority. So you need to understand these basics. Let's dive right in. So now let's talk about title. What is a title? A title is the ownership status of a land. Who actually owns this land? Under what right? So in Nigeria, we have three kinds of titles. We have the customary title, the equitable title, and the legal title. And I want you to know something now, that every land comes in each of all these titles or all of this. So now let's go into customary title. What is customary title? This is the ownership based on family or traditional inheritance, common in family lands or community lands. And there's something I want you to know, that almost all lands are traceable to customary title. Now, there's something called a recital. A recital is part of a title document that shows the root of title of that land. That's root of ownership, the history of ownership, the transfers from when to where did it started. Do you understand me? So when you see a root of title written Mr. A beneficial owner, transfer to Mr. B, the question that should come to your mind is, how did Mr. A became the owner of that land? How was it transferred to him? The recital and the root of title speaks for themselves. They are very clear about the history of ownership. Now let's talk about equitable title. This is when someone picks interest on a land, pays fully, but has not really perfected ownership. That's why you hear someone say, oh, he has paid for this land, but doesn't have full rights on that land. Now, let's say Mr. B sells to Mr. C. Mr. C picks interest in that land. Mr. B will prepare a deed of assignment. Mr. B will prepare a deed of assignment and now transfer it to Mr. C. The land title or the land status of this land has moved from customary to equitable title. Do you understand that? Now, when Mr. C sells to Mr. D and Mr. D applied for a C of O, now this land title has moved from a customary title to an equitable title and now has fully become a legal title. And what's a legal title? A legal title is the ownership that is recognized by law and also backed by governments. Now, from all that's been explained, you now know how a land can fall into each of these land titles or fall into all of it. If you're still watching, congratulations, you just saved extra millions, because now you know what a title is and the kinds of title we have in Nigeria. Don't forget to like this video, don't forget to subscribe, and also don't forget to share to someone who will be in need of this. Now, let's go deeper into this conversation. So, now we'll be talking about the difference between a title and title documents. So, a title document is gotten from two words, title and documents. Now, what is a title? I've mentioned it before. A title is the status, the ownership status of a land. Now, what is a document? A document is the proof or evidence of something. Do you understand me? Now, what is the difference between a title and title documents? A title is simply ownership, while a title document is the proof of that ownership. Do you understand what I'm saying? Now you know the difference between a title and title documents. So what can you say a title document is? A title document is a legal document that proves ownership. Now we have the CFO, the gazettes, excision certificates, the deed of assignment, governor's consent, amongst others. Now, there is something I want you to understand. Listen carefully. People make mistakes when it comes to this. There are documents that they'll give to you that look very serious, but they are not title documents. They are called supporting documents. Do you understand me? These documents are not going to prove ownership. They are meant to support the documents. Examples we have the power of attorney, the contract of sale, receipt of payments, survey plan, building plans. How are you doing? Hope you're learning a lot. So the next thing we're going to talk about is root of title. What is the root of title? Before you buy any land, please understand this. Check the document, it's written in the document. The root of title. The root of title has to do with origin of ownership. The origin of ownership. That's the history of ownership. Do you understand that? The history of ownership. How was it passed? How was it transferred? When was it transferred? To whom was it transferred to? That's root of title. Now there's something called recital, which I've mentioned before. Recital is the story in your title document that states how it was transferred from Mr. A to Mr. B to Mr. C to Mr. D and so forth. Do you understand what I'm saying? I want you to know something. You're not just checking documents, you are verifying the story behind the ownership of that land. Now, when it comes to root of title, we have a good root of title and a bad root of title. What is a good root of title? A good root of title is clear. It explains itself. It is free from disputes. It is legally recognized. What is a bad root of title? Of course, the opposite of good. Do you understand me? The bad root of title is very confusing. That means the transfer is very confusing. You don't know if how you don't even know how it was transferred from A to B, from B to C. Do you understand? It's not clear. Just know that a good root of title is meant to explain itself. Do you understand? It is clear enough to explain the transfer of ownership from one person to another, the origin of ownership, how it was transferred, when, and to whom. Do you understand what I'm saying? A bad root of title, a bad root of title is not free from dispute. Yes, a bad root of title is not free from dispute. It is not legally recognizable. And there's likelihood of missing history. You could say that possibly A to B, Mr. A to B, and before you know it, you don't know how B to C, how B transferred to C, how Mr. B transferred to C. You don't know how it happened, but before you know it, you're seeing C to D. They're not giving you a clear history of how this transfer was gotten. So a root of title explains itself. Now when you go to the court of law, let me tell you something. The judgment is based on evidence. The root of title is meant to explain everything pertaining the ownership of that land. How was it owned? To whom was it passed down to? Do you understand what I'm saying? Here's the truth. If a root is bad, every other thing built on it is at risk. So the next thing we're going to talk about is competence and capacity. What is competence? Competence means the ability to sell but with no authority. The ability to sell but with no authority. That's competence. Now, for example, you're interested in an individual family land and the seller happens to tell you that he is the son of the beneficial owner, let's say Mr. Okeke. Mr. Okeke is the beneficial owner and his son is the seller coming to sell to you. Now he will tell you you have nothing to be scared of. Everything is okay. Of course, there is something to be scared of because naturally he can sell that land, but he is not authorized to sell that land without the consent of the whole family. Now we are going to do your due diligence. The question you should ask in this situation is, does he actually have the authority to sell that land? It's not about asking who is selling. It is about knowing who has the authority to that land because anyone can just come out to sell. What capacity? Let's say for example, a parent got a property in the child's name and the child is a minor, let's say below the age of 18 to 21. That child is a minor and the name is on a title document. The child has the authority to that land. Let me say this clearly again. A child who is not up to 18 or 21 years is written on a title document, right? Now that child have the authority to that land but cannot sell that land. Another case when it comes to capacity is that there are lands that cannot be sold. It is stated clearly in the title document that it cannot be sold. So these lands are mostly under dispute and they are under the court. So the court heads the land. That means since the land is under the court passes authority to that land. In all that's been said, authority is the key to every transactions in the real estate. I'll say that again. At the end of the day, authority is the key to every transaction in the real estate. Congratulations once again, you just saved extra millions because you now understand what title really is and what title documents are. and you now know how to avoid mistakes that would cost you millions. Do well to check the playlist link in the description below so you get to understand due diligence and title documents in Nigeria. And also don't forget to like, share and subscribe. And also don't forget to hit the notification bell so you get to see any insights like this that comes in. See you in part 2.